My name is Olivia Harper. I was 34 when my mother tried to move me back into her house with a yellow hospital worksheet. Not a conversation, not a family meeting, not even a real question. A worksheet. I found out in a discharge planning room at St. Luke's Medical Center, sitting across from a nurse case manager, while my father waited in a wheelchair by the door. My mother, Diane, sat beside him with a tissue folded in her palm. My older brother Kyle stood behind her chair in a navy polo with his roofing company logo on the chest. He kept checking his watch because he had crews on a job site. My younger sister, Megan, sat near the wall with her purse in her lap, already saying she had to leave before school pickup. I had taken my lunch break to be there. That mattered, because in my family, my lunch break was not treated like work. It was treated like available space. I worked from home as a claims coordinator for a health insurance company. That sounded flexible to people who had never watched me juggle 3 client calls, a supervisor chat, and a spreadsheet that could not be wrong because one wrong code could freeze someone's claim for weeks. That week, I had already missed 2 client calls because Dad fell. My manager had been patient the first time. The second time she said, "Olivia, I need you fully online tomorrow." She did not say threat. She did not have to. In my life, losing work meant rent, health insurance, and every bill I paid alone. My family did not see any of that. They saw a laptop and no commute. The nurse case manager, Ms. Devlin, opened a folder and pulled out a yellow sheet. "This is the family caregiver worksheet your mother completed this morning," she said. "Before we use any of this for your father's discharge plan, I need to confirm the information with everyone listed." She turned the page toward me. My mother's handwriting filled the boxes. Primary family support, Olivia Harper. Will stay in patient's home after discharge. Yes. Available weekdays. Yes. Works remotely. Yes. Familiar with medication, insurance, and appointments. Yes. I stared at the paper. For a second, I honestly thought I was reading it wrong. Then I looked at my mother. Why am I on here as staying at the house? Mom blinked, like I had asked something rude. "Because your father needs help." "I know Dad needs help." "Then why are you making that face?" I tapped the page. "Because this says I'm moving in." Kyle let out a small breath through his nose. "Liv, nobody said forever." Megan leaned forward. "Dad fell. He can't just go home alone." My father looked down at the hospital blanket across his lap. He had fallen in the garage 6 days earlier. He had not broken a hip, thank God, but his balance was bad, his blood pressure had dipped twice, and the hospital wanted a safe plan before sending him home. Meals, medication checks, fall risk support, follow-up rides, somebody nearby for the first stretch. I understood all of that. I loved my father. What I did not understand was why loving him meant everyone else got to write my name before asking me. I said, "I told you what I could do." Mom folded the tissue tighter. "You said you would help however you could." I said that in the ER because I was scared. We were all scared. Then I texted the exact breakdown. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, insurance calls, follow-up rides if I had notice. Kyle gave Ms. Devlin a polite little smile. "She's making it sound like we tricked her. We're just trying to get Dad home." Ms. Devlin did not smile back. "I understand, but I do need confirmed availability." Kyle nodded like he respected that. His eyes stayed on me. "Sure, I just don't think family should have to turn every sentence into evidence." That was Kyle's gift. He could make pressure sound reasonable. Mom touched Dad's shoulder. "Olivia works from home. Her schedule is more flexible than ours." "I work from home," I said. "I don't live on standby." Megan frowned. "Nobody said that." "You wrote weekdays." Mom's voice got softer, which always meant I was about to be made the harsh one. "I naturally thought you would want to be there for your father." She said naturally the way other people say obviously, like asking me first would have been the strange part. Ms. Devlin turned slightly toward me. "Olivia, just to confirm, are you agreeing to stay in your parents' home after discharge and provide weekday care?" Everyone looked at me. Kyle with his arms crossed, Megan with her mouth tight, Mom with wet eyes, Dad still staring at his lap. And for one awful second, I almost said yes. I almost said yes because Dad looked small in that wheelchair, because Mom looked exhausted, because Kyle and Megan were staring at me like I was the one keeping him trapped in a hospital bed. That was how my family usually got me. They made the crisis bigger than the question. The question was simple. Had I agreed? The crisis was huge. Dad fell. Mom was overwhelmed. Kyle had a business. Megan had kids. What kind of daughter needed this explained? Mom saw me hesitate. "Just for a little while," she said, "until we get settled." I had heard that before. Just for a little while had become 6 months of driving Grandma to physical therapy. Just this weekend had become every Thanksgiving cleanup. Just make the call had become me handling Dad's insurance portal because Kyle had crews, Megan had kids, and Mom said she could not deal with automated phone menus. I swallowed. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Mom, you didn't even ask me." She looked offended. I thought I knew my own daughter. "I work from home," I said. "I don't live to be the default plan." Kyle muttered. "Jesus," Megan whispered. "Can we not do this here?" I snapped at her before I could stop myself. "Where should I do it? After she tells everybody I agreed?" Mom's face flushed. I did not hand in a lie. "You wrote I was staying at your house." "Because I thought you would step up." I said what I could do. "You said you would help." I lost my temper there. Not screaming, not throwing anything, but sharp enough. Help is not the same as handing you my whole damn week. Megan sucked in a breath. Kyle stepped forward. "Watch it." Dad closed his eyes, and just like that, they had something cleaner to talk about than the worksheet. My tone. Ms. Devlin slid the worksheet back toward herself. "Okay," she said. "We cannot use this worksheet as written." Mom looked at her. She can still agree now. Ms. Devlin shook her head. "This worksheet is family-provided information. Olivia is telling us the information is not accurate. We need a discharge plan based on confirmed availability." Kyle's jaw tightened. "So what, Dad just sits here?" "For now," Ms. Devlin said. "We reassess the plan." Mom looked at me then. Her tears were still there, but under them was something colder. She had expected guilt to carry me across the line. It almost did, but almost was not a yes. The meeting ended with Dad staying one more night. Ms. Devlin said a social worker would join the next care conference if the family could not confirm coverage. Kyle hated that. He waited by the vending machines in the hallway, close enough to look calm if someone passed, far enough that he could say what he wanted. I tried to walk past him. He shifted in front of me. "Nice job." "Move, Kyle. You feel better now." I said move. Megan came up behind him. "Kyle, stop." He ignored her. "Dad is sitting in there feeling like a burden because you needed to make a point." "I'm trying to make sure he doesn't go home with a fake plan." Kyle gave a little laugh. "A fake plan, right. That's what it is." "No, Liv. It's Mom trying to get Dad home. It's Megan trying to manage 3 kids. It's me trying to keep a business running so 12 guys can feed their families. And it's you acting like being asked to help is an attack." It was smooth, almost respectable. That was how Kyle worked. He did not have to yell. He just stacked everybody else's responsibilities on the table and waited for mine to look smaller. I said, "You're not asking me to help. You're asking me to become the plan." Megan rubbed her forehead. "Nobody is asking forever." Then why did Mom write weekdays? Because she had to put something down. I stared at her. "That sentence is the whole problem." Kyle's voice lowered. "Mom is crying in the bathroom." There it was. My cue. Go fix Mom. Go apologize. Go soften the truth until everyone could pretend the worksheet was normal. And it worked. A little. I hated that it worked. "I shouldn't have snapped," I said. Megan's shoulders dropped. "Thank you. But I'm not saying yes." Her face closed again. Kyle shook his head. "You always do that." "Do what?" "Give just enough apology to sound decent, then keep being difficult." I wanted to fire back. I wanted to say he had not sat on hold with Medicare. He had not driven Grandma to appointments. He had not stayed after Thanksgiving while Mom stood in the kitchen saying, "Olivia knows where everything goes." Instead, I walked away. That would have been a good moment to keep walking. I didn't. That night, I answered Mom's call. She did not say hello. "Your father heard everything." I sat in my car outside my apartment and closed my eyes. "Mom, I'm sorry I got sharp." "You humiliated me. You wrote me down without asking." "I wrote what made sense." "To you? To anyone who knows this family." That hit because it was true in the worst way. Anyone who knew my family would have expected me to fill the gap. I had taught them that. I said yes too often and then got angry later. I took over tasks because watching people dodge them made me nervous. I used vague lines like, "I'll help however I can," because I wanted to sound kind and still keep an exit. My family took the kind part and erased the exit. Mom said, "I just thought you'd want to be with your father." That sounds nice. It's not what you wrote. "You've gotten so cold." That was her favorite label for me. In my mother's vocabulary, cold just meant I had finally stopped doing what made her comfortable. I stayed on the call too long. 20 minutes too long. Mom cried. Megan took the phone and said we all needed to calm down. Kyle spoke from somewhere in the background about paperwork crap. By the end, I had agreed to bring Dad's slippers and reading glasses from the house the next morning. That was not wrong, but it was familiar. They pushed. I bent. The next morning, I went to my parents' house before work. I told myself, slippers, glasses, leave. The spare key was still under the ceramic frog on the porch. Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and old coffee. Dad's recliner was pushed back from the rug. His newspaper sat folded on the side table, like he had only stepped into the kitchen and would be back in a minute. I found his reading glasses on the counter. His slippers were by the bed. Then I passed the den. The pull-out couch was open. A fitted sheet was tucked tight over the mattress. A quilt sat folded at the foot. On the pillow was a yellow sticky note in my mother's handwriting. Olivia. Just my name. No, if you stay. No, in case. Olivia. Beside the couch sat an old laundry basket with 2 towels, a phone charger, and a bottle of the shampoo I used when I lived there after college. That almost broke me. Not the couch, not the towels. The shampoo. Because my mother knew the little things about me. She knew what brand I liked. She knew I hated sleeping without a charger by the bed. She knew exactly how to make a room look like care. But she had not cared enough to ask if I was moving into it. On the desk beside the couch was a printed weekly calendar. Monday, Olivia. Tuesday, Olivia. Wednesday, Olivia. Thursday, Olivia. Friday, Olivia. Saturday, family to discuss. Sunday, Olivia after church if needed. I took a picture. Not to blast it online, not to start a war. Because I knew if I did not preserve it, my mother would later call it just an idea. The front door opened. Mom came in holding a grocery bag. She froze when she saw me. "Oh," she said, "you're here." I held up the sticky note. "You made me a bed." "I made a place for you." Before I said yes. Her mouth tightened. Family does not need a contract. Then ask me like family. Don't write my name down like I already said yes. She set the bag down. "You are making this ugly." "No, Mom, you made me a room." "For your father." "For control." That came out too sharp. Her face changed. I regretted the word as soon as it left my mouth, not because it was false, but because she would use it. And she did. "There it is," she said. "You think I'm some monster now." I didn't say monster. You didn't have to. I picked up Dad's slippers and glasses. "I'm taking these to Dad. I'm not staying here." Mom's eyes were wet again. Most daughters would not need to be begged. I opened the front door. Most families ask before making the bed. I left before she could answer. On the porch, my phone lit up with a Facebook notification from Mom. "Hard day. You raise your children hoping they will show up when it matters. Please pray for Robert. No name, no details. just enough. My thumb hovered over the screen. I wanted to answer. I wanted to post the picture of the den, the calendar, the sticky note, the shampoo. I wanted Aunt Carol and every church friend with a prayer emoji to see exactly what show up meant in my mother's house. I typed the first sentence, then deleted it. I opened an email to Ms. Devlin instead. The first draft started with, "My mother is lying." I deleted that too. Then I wrote the driest message of my life. I did not agree to move into my parents' home after discharge. I did not agree to provide weekday or full-time care. I can help with Tuesday and Thursday afternoon visits, insurance calls, follow-up transportation with advance notice, and limited grocery support. Please do not use any family worksheet or discharge plan that lists me outside those limits without confirming with me directly. I read it once. It did not make me feel better, so I sent it. Then I drove to the hospital with Dad's slippers on the passenger seat. Dad was awake when I walked in. "Hey, Livy." "Hey, Dad." I set the slippers near the bed and handed him his glasses. He put them on slowly. "You and your mother still upset?" I sat in the chair beside him. "I'm not trying to make this harder." He looked at me over the top of his glasses. "I know." The words loosened something in my chest. Then he looked toward the hallway. "Your mother is scared." And there it was, the part Dad always did. He could see me. Then he softened Mom. I said, "So am I." He nodded, but he did not know what to do with that. That was Dad. He was not cruel. He was not stupid. He just hated conflict so much that peace usually meant whoever pushed hardest got their way. 10 minutes later, Mom walked in. Her eyes went to the slippers. "Thank you for bringing those," she said. It sounded normal. It almost fooled me. Then she added, "See, this is all we meant. Just helping." I stood up. "No, this is bringing slippers. The worksheet was moving me in." Her face hardened. Dad looked down again. I left before I lost my temper. That night, Mom texted me, "I wish you had come to me privately instead of making me look dishonest to the hospital." I read it twice. Then I set the phone face down. For once, I let her sit with the version of the story she had created. The care conference room was smaller than the first one. Ms. Devlin sat at one end of the table. Beside her was Renee Wallace, the hospital social worker. Renee had a laptop open and a stack of weekly care schedules in front of her. That stack changed the mood before anyone said a word. Kyle saw it and sighed. Mom sat beside Dad, who had been brought in from physical therapy. He looked tired, one hand resting on the brake of his wheelchair. Megan had sunglasses pushed on top of her head and a coffee cup she had not touched. I sat down with a blue folder. Inside were only two things: the photo of the den calendar and the screenshot of the text where I had listed my actual availability. No giant file, no secret recording, just the pieces my family had made while trying to make my life look open. Renee introduced herself. "My job is to help create a discharge plan that is safe and realistic," she said. "That means confirmed people, confirmed times, and backup options." Kyle gave his polite work voice. "Absolutely. I think yesterday got a little emotional, but we all want the same thing." Ms. Devlin looked up from her laptop. "Before we start, I received an email from Olivia yesterday afternoon." Kyle stopped moving. Mom turned toward me. Ms. Devlin continued. She clarified that she did not agree to move into the home, did not agree to weekday or full-time care, and is available only for Tuesday and Thursday afternoon visits, insurance calls, scheduled follow-up transportation with notice, and limited grocery support. The email sounded different in her voice, not angry, not dramatic, harder to twist. Mom said, "She sent that instead of talking to me." Ms. Devlin said, "She sent it to clarify discharge information." Kyle shifted. "Again, I think we're making this more official than it needs to be." Renee placed a blank weekly schedule in the middle of the table. "Then this should be simple. Let's start with Monday morning." No one answered. Kyle checked his phone. Megan looked at her coffee. Mom looked at Dad. The box stayed empty. Renee said, "Monday morning?" Kyle cleared his throat. "I have crews starting at 7. It's not that I don't care. I've got people depending on me. Renee typed, "Not available Monday morning." Kyle's head lifted. That makes it sound like I'm refusing. "Are you available Monday morning?" He looked at the table. "No." Renee moved on. "Megan, I have school drop-off, and my youngest has speech on Mondays." "Not available Monday morning." Mom's voice got thin. "I'll be home, but if Robert gets dizzy, I can't lift him by myself." Renee nodded. "So Monday morning has no confirmed support for transfer assistance or fall risk coverage." Kyle leaned forward. "Well, we're figuring it out." Renee looked at him. "We cannot discharge him to figuring it out." Renee didn't dress it up. She just said it flat, and that made it worse. She moved to Monday afternoon. Kyle said maybe. Renee said maybe is not coverage. Megan said she could bring dinner some Mondays. Renee wrote meal drop-off, not care coverage. Every time someone offered a nice-sounding half-promise, Renee translated it into what it actually was. Mom hated that. Kyle hated it more. Tuesday afternoon. I signed. Wednesday morning. Megan said, "I can probably do every other Wednesday if I move a few things." Renee said, "Then write every other Wednesday." Megan took the pen and wrote slowly, like the paper had personally insulted her. Thursday afternoon. I signed. Friday evening. Kyle said, "Depends where the job sites are." Renee said, "Then we cannot list you as confirmed." Kyle's mouth tightened. This is getting ridiculous. Renee did not react. "No, this is getting specific." Mom turned to me. "This is what you wanted." "No," I said. "This is what was already true." Kyle leaned back. "Come on, Liv. You said you'd help however you could. That's what Mom wrote down." Mom looked up fast, trying to find a loophole. "An email doesn't change the fact that we had an understanding, Olivia." "We didn't have an understanding, Mom. We had an ambush." I opened the folder and slid the photo across the table. The pull-out couch, the folded quilt, the sticky note with my name on it, the calendar with my name written across every weekday. Megan leaned in, her brow tightening. "Wait, Mom, you already set up the den." Mom's face went red. "It was just in case." I said, "The calendar had my name on every weekday." Kyle finally looked at the photo. For once, he did not have a quick line. Megan took the photo after Renee set it down. Her mouth opened a little. "Mom?" Mom snapped, "Don't act shocked. Somebody had to prepare." Renee pulled the yellow worksheet from the folder. "This worksheet says Olivia will stay in the home. Olivia says she did not agree. There is also a photo of a home schedule listing her every weekday." Kyle said, "So now we're treating Mom like she committed some crime?" "No," Renee said. "We're treating the worksheet as unconfirmed." Ms. Devlin turned the worksheet toward Mom. Where did Olivia agree to this? Mom stared at the page. It was not that kind of form. "Correct," Ms. Devlin said. "So we cannot treat it like consent." Kyle's voice sharpened. "This is paperwork nonsense." Ms. Devlin looked at him. "It is discharge safety." Dad had been quiet the whole time. Too quiet. He was staring at the blank boxes, then at the photo of the den. I wanted him to say something. I hated that I wanted it. Because Dad's silence had been part of my family's weather for years. He did not create every storm, but he knew how to sit in the house and pretend it was only rain. Then he said, "Diane." Mom turned to him. He did not look strong. He looked old, tired, embarrassed. "Don't use me to corner her." Nobody moved. Kyle started, "Dad, nobody is—" Dad lifted one hand. "If nobody can be there Monday, then I don't go home Monday." Mom's eyes filled again. This time, the tears did not move the room. Renee wrote something on the schedule. Ms. Devlin picked up a red Sharpie and drew a line through my name on the yellow worksheet, then another through the checked box beside weekday availability, then another through the line that said I would stay in the home. The marker made a rough sound against the paper. She turned to her computer and started typing. "I'm updating the chart now," she said. "Weekday coverage is not confirmed." Kyle looked at the screen like it had betrayed him. Mom stared at the red lines. Nobody called my mother a liar. Ms. Devlin just crossed out the boxes my mother had checked and turned back to the computer. That was enough. Renee placed a fresh schedule in the center of the table. "This is the document we will use now," she said. "Only confirmed availability goes here." This time, my name was not already written anywhere. Dad went to short-term rehab for 10 days. Mom called it overkill. Kyle said it was what happened when simple things got dragged into bureaucracy. Megan said it was probably safer, then looked guilty for agreeing with me by accident. The next afternoon, the rehab coordinator held one short meeting. That helped. She handed each of us a printed care schedule. Monday evening check-in, Kyle. Every other Wednesday medication review, Megan. Tuesday and Thursday afternoon support, Olivia. Insurance calls, Olivia. Remote. Grocery rotation, Diane and Megan with Olivia every other week. Paid backup care agency, listed. Emergency issue, call 911 first if immediate, then contact scheduled family member. The coordinator passed around a pen. Initial only the parts you can actually do. Kyle stared at Monday evening. "I can't guarantee every Monday." "Then initial the Mondays you can guarantee." Megan looked at her Wednesday line. "My kids' schedules change." "Then we need the backup option listed." Mom said, "This feels very formal." The coordinator said, "Formal is better than unsafe." I initialed only my lines, Tuesday, Thursday, insurance calls, every other grocery week. My hand shook a little when I stopped. There were still blank spaces. But this time, I put the pen down. Kyle initialed 2 Mondays and complained while doing it. Megan initialed every other Wednesday. Mom signed beside spouse, home support with backup required. Nobody looked happy, but everybody's name appeared somewhere. Not just mine. When Dad came home from rehab, I went on my scheduled Thursday with groceries and his printed appointment list. Kyle's truck was in the driveway. He was in the hallway trying to install a bathroom grab bar and pretending he knew exactly what he was doing. "Damn stud finder's useless," he muttered. Dad sat at the kitchen table watching him like it was better than television. "He's been here 40 minutes, Dad said. "Complaint or compliment?" I asked. Dad smiled. "Both." I put the groceries away. Mom moved around the kitchen behind me, quieter than usual. She had not forgiven me. Not really. But she no longer had a worksheet with my name covering every weekday. That mattered more than her mood. Before I left, Dad said, "Thanks for coming when you said you would." I paused at the door. That sentence should not have felt big. But in my family, showing up when I said I would had always been treated as less important than showing up whenever they wanted. I said, "You're welcome." Then I left at the time written on the schedule. 3 weeks later, Mom tried the old door again. It was Saturday evening. I had just sat down for dinner when my phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Your father needs someone tonight. Kyle's job ran late and Megan has the tournament. Can you come by?" My first instinct was still to stand up. That embarrassed me. After all of it, some part of me still reached for my keys when my mother said, "Need." I opened the schedule clipped to my fridge. Saturday evening backup, Kyle. If unavailable, paid backup agency. I typed back, "I'm not available tonight. Please use the backup listed on the schedule." I stared at it. No jab, no lecture, no paragraph. I sent it. Mom replied, "That sounds cold." I picked up the phone. I almost answered. I almost wrote, "Cold was putting my name on a worksheet." I almost wrote, "Cold was making a bed for me before asking." I almost wrote, "I still love Dad and you know that." All of it was true. All of it would have reopened the door. So I did not answer her. Instead, I opened the email thread with the rehab coordinator and attached the signed schedule again. "Please keep my availability exactly assigned." I hit send. 1 click. Then I turned on Do Not Disturb. The phone stayed dark beside my plate. I picked up my fork. For the first time in 34 years, nobody else's emergency entered my kitchen. The signed schedule stayed clipped to my fridge for months, not because I loved paperwork, because every time my hand reached for a blank space that was not mine, That paper reminded me to stop. My family put my name on a worksheet. They made a bed in the den. They told themselves I would come around because I always had. Then a nurse asked where I had agreed. And for once, my silence was the only answer they couldn't rewrite. What would you have done if your family tried to turn your help into a responsibility you never agreed to?